Before we begin, take a deep breath and do 3 things quickly. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any important content, and leave a comment, sharing if you've ever experienced something similar or simply saying, "I want to learn how to protect myself." This helps our community grow and strengthens those seeking to understand themselves and protect their emotional well-being. Have you ever wondered why some relationships always seem to revolve around conflict and frustration, even when you give your all? Today, I want to talk about something many people avoid, but that is essential to recognize. Be careful with women who do this. This isn't about judging or pointing fingers. It's about identifying behaviors that can undermine your self-esteem, drain your energy, and create a cycle of emotional pain that feels endless. Some women have a very subtle way of manipulating, almost imperceptible at first. They may seem charming, attentive, loving, but slowly, the truth reveals itself. These are the ones who like to control the situation, dictate how you should act, think, or even feel. They are specialists at turning love into obligation and attention into control. Have you ever felt that no matter how much you do, it's never enough? That every gesture you make is scrutinized and often criticized? That is not love. It is control disguised as care. And the worst part is that you often feel guilty for complaining, as if the problem were you, when in fact the problem is the other person's pattern. There are signs you should never ignore. If you notice a constant pattern of emotional blackmail, exaggerated jealousy, or manipulation to get what they want, it's time to pay attention. This isn't about labeling someone a villain. It's about recognizing behaviors that can destroy your emotional balance. It's important to understand that manipulation isn't always obvious. Often it comes disguised as compliments, small demands, strategic silences, or subtle hints that mess with your mind and heart. And the more you care, the more the situation repeats itself. If you recognize any of these patterns, leave your comment now. Share how you feel, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Learning to protect yourself emotionally is the first step to freedom, but be careful. This isn't meant to instill fear or hatred. It's a warning so you can learn to recognize patterns and protect yourself. Loving someone does not mean losing yourself, giving in, or accepting any behavior. Loving also means respecting your limits, your needs, and your emotional health. If you've been through this, know that it's not weakness to walk away. It's not selfish to set boundaries. And it's not a loss to choose your own well-being. Care begins when you decide to look inward and realize that some people won't change, and trying to change them often only pulls you away from those who truly deserve to be in your life. So, be careful with women who do this, but be even more careful with yourself. Learn to recognize, protect yourself, and above all, love consciously, because real love doesn't hurt, doesn't control, and doesn't manipulate. Real love is free, respectful, and reciprocal. Let's dive a little deeper, because often we don't notice the signs as quickly as they appear. You might think, oh, she's just demanding, I'm overreacting. But that's exactly where the trap closes. Small, repeated actions, day after day, begin to form a pattern, and what seemed like affection slowly becomes control. That insistence on messages, the subtle pressure for constant attention, the jealousy that seems normal, all of these are clear warning signs. And don't be mistaken, this isn't only about romantic relationships. It also shows up in friendships, family dynamics, and work environments. It's the same emotional pattern, someone who subtly tries to dictate how you should feel, react, or behave. It's an energy drain, stealing your focus, turning your life into a minefield of tension. When we get involved with people like this, we often blame ourselves. We ask, what did I do wrong? Why can't I please them? Why does everything I do feel insufficient? But the truth is simple and harsh. It's not you. It never was you. The problem lies in the other person's need to control and manipulate, to create an emotional dependence that only benefits them. There's something even subtler, which makes it more dangerous. These women often mix affection with manipulation so skillfully that the line between love and abuse becomes almost invisible. A compliment followed by a reproach, a display of affection followed by a hurtful hint, a gesture of attention that creates guilt if you don't reciprocate exactly as they expect. All of this shapes your perception, making you feel responsible for emotions that aren't yours. That's why awareness is our greatest ally. Recognizing patterns, understanding that protecting yourself isn't selfish, and above all, learning to love yourself without depending on someone else's approval is essential. When you begin to set clear boundaries, when you decide not to be manipulated, something incredible happens. You realize that true love doesn't play games. It's simple, free, and respectful. Here's a point many forget: self-respect. Loving someone doesn't mean giving up who you are, or letting your values, emotions, and peace be negotiated in exchange for attention or approval. True love starts with the love you have for yourself, and that should never be compromised. Some people confuse intensity with love. They think that if someone demands too much, creates drama, or complicated situations, it's a sign of passion. But the truth is, healthy love doesn't need to prove anything. It doesn't create fear, doesn't manipulate, doesn't make you feel small or inadequate. It simply exists, and those in it feel safe, valued, and respected. When we get involved with someone who doesn't understand this, who mixes love with manipulation, we can get trapped in repeating cycles. Maybe you recognize patterns that repeat across different relationships. Women who control, play with your emotions, and create guilt to get what they want. And the more you try to please, the more the situation repeats. It's a cycle that feels impossible to break until you decide to look at yourself and realize, I deserve more. This is where many fail because leaving someone we know is harmful seems painful. But think carefully, what hurts more? Staying in a relationship that erodes your self-esteem, consumes your energy, and confuses love with manipulation, or walking away, respecting yourself, and opening space for relationships that truly add value to your life. Here's an essential truth. Not all love is healthy, and not everyone who seems charming genuinely cares about you. This doesn't mean you aren't worthy of love. On the contrary, it simply means that to receive true love, you must recognize what isn't love and have the courage to walk away from what harms you. So be careful with women who do this, but also be careful with what you accept, observe, perceive, reflect. Don't let subtle manipulation entangle you. Don't blame yourself for feeling something is wrong. And above all, don't fool yourself into thinking that loving means suffering or constantly giving in. Learning to identify these patterns is liberating. When you start recognizing the signs, setting boundaries, and prioritizing your emotional well-being, something incredible happens. You discover that life has room for relationships that uplift, respect, and nurture. And that's exactly the kind of relationship you deserve. True love, without games, without manipulation, without unnecessary pain. If you relate to this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave your comment sharing your experience. The more you interact, the more we can help others recognize patterns and protect themselves emotionally. True love doesn't hurt, doesn't control, and doesn't trap. It frees, supports, and strengthens. And remember, not all love is healthy, but you deserve to be loved genuinely, without games, without manipulation, and without unnecessary pain. Be careful with women who do this, but most importantly, be careful with yourself. Love yourself, value yourself, respect your boundaries, and choose relationships that truly matter. In the end, when you look back, you'll see that all these experiences, as painful as they were, taught you something vital. Those who don't respect your heart don't deserve to occupy it. Those who manipulate, control, or constantly demand don't deserve your time, energy, or love. Recognizing this is the first step toward a lighter, healthier, and ultimately happier emotional life. Never forget, loving shouldn't hurt, and those who make you suffer in the name of love don't deserve a place in your heart. Learn to value your feelings, your boundaries, and your peace above any manipulation. You deserve a love that builds, that frees, and that makes you feel truly complete.